In the quiet town of Belmont, Massachusetts, stood an elegant old mansion known as the Belmont Manor. Once a hub of high society, the manor's grand ballroom had hosted countless lavish parties where the elite danced the night away. But over the years, the mansion fell into disrepair, and the ballroom's last dance was long forgotten, except for the locals who whispered about the dance of the dead. Sophie, a history enthusiast, an amateur paranormal investigator, had heard the stories. It was said that every year on the anniversary of the manor's grandest ball, the spirits of the past would return for one final dance. Intrigued, Sophie decided to investigate, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. She arrived at the manor on a cool autumn evening, her equipment in tow. The mansion loomed against the darkening sky, its windows dark and its facade weathered. The air was thick with the scent of decaying leaves and old wood. Sophie pushed open the creaky front door and stepped inside, her footsteps echoing through the empty halls. The ballroom was just as she imagined, dusty and dim, with cobwebs hanging from the crystal chandeliers. The parquet floor, once polished to a gleam, was scuffed and dull. But as Sophie set up her camera and voice recorder, she felt a strange energy in the air, as if the room itself was holding its breath. As the clock struck midnight, Sophie stood in the center of the ballroom, waiting. The air grew colder, and a faint melody filled the room, a waltz, soft and haunting, as if played by an invisible orchestra. Sophie turned on her recorder, capturing the eerie music. Then, to her amazement, she saw them. Ghostly figures began to materialize, flickering into existence around the ballroom. They were dressed in elegant attire from a bygone era, women in flowing gowns and men in formal suits. Their faces were pale and ethereal, their eyes distant and melancholy. Sophie watched in awe as the spirits began to dance, their movements graceful and fluid. They glided across the floor, twirling and swaying in time with the music. It was a beautiful and haunting sight, a dance frozen in time. But as Sophie continued to watch, she noticed something unsettling. The dancers' expressions were not of joy, but of sorrow. Their eyes, hollow and haunted, seemed to be searching for something or someone. The air grew heavy with the sense of longing and despair. Suddenly, one of the spirits broke away from the dance and approached Sophie. It was a young woman, her dress shimmering like moonlight. Her eyes filled with a deep sadness locked onto Sophie's. She reached out, her voice barely a whisper. "Help us," she pleaded. "We cannot rest." Sophie felt a chill run down her spine. "How can I help you?" she asked, her voice trembling. The woman gestured towards the corner of the ballroom, where a grand mirror stood, covered in dust and cobwebs. "The mirror holds our souls. It traps us in this eternal dance. You must break it." Determined to help, Sophie hurried to the mirror. She hesitated for a moment and swung her flashlight at the glass. The mirror shattered with a loud crash, the shards scattering across the floor. As the mirror broke, the music ceased and the spirits stopped dancing. For a moment, there was silence. Then, one by one, the spirits began to fade, their forms dissolving into the air. The young woman smiled at Sophie, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice echoing as she vanished. The ballroom fell silent, the energy in the room dissipating. Sophie stood alone in the darkness, the shattered glass glinting at her feet. She felt a sense of peace, knowing she had freed the souls trapped in the dance of the dead. Sophie left the Belmont Manor, her recordings and photos serving as evidence of her encounter. The mansion remained abandoned, but the story of the Dance of the Dead became a local legend. Every year on the anniversary, people would gather outside the manor, listening for the faint strains of the ghostly waltz. And Sophie, forever changed by the experience, continued her work as a paranormal investigator, helping other restless spirits find peace. The Dance of the Dead was just one of many mysteries she would uncover, but it remained the most haunting and beautiful of all.